All right, we are now recording. We are now live. As far as I can see, things are working. There is audio flowing through, and OBS is getting hold of the audio and the video. And you can see my mouse moving around. So this is great. And I sound a bit hoarse. I probably need to go get a drink in a second. I will probably dash out and get myself a cup of tea. So this is basically going to be a pretty laid-back approach to how to manage your slightly larger templates when it comes to orchestration in Cubase. Not going to be dealing with composition or arrangement just yet. This is more about the management of your instrument libraries and the management of how to organize your project setup so that you can actually start working on things in an organized fashion without having to keep looking for things or turning things on, turning things off, or etc. So where we're going to start this thing is simply by, I'm going to show you what's going on in here first. What we have here is, this is my basic orchestral template, which I'm still building. It is still under construction. It's always going to be under construction, I think, until I literally have used every available track for every available library that I have. But I don't think it's going to ever get to that stage because it's not always practical to have everything open and available. It's normally better to have most of the important things open. So as far as having most of the important things open, so I can show you how this works. Groove Agent 1 is nice. I always have that open because it's a very useful sampler to have hanging around to throw stuff into. So let's ignore that for a minute. So the drum folder actually isn't part of the it's not part of the project. So I'm going to delete that. Okay, so first of all, we have audio. Audio is important. Having a folder with some audio tracks in is just handy to have around because if you wanted to do a test mix or you want to do a test mix down, you can literally just select one of these guys, press ARM, and you can just press play and just record a little section of whatever it is you want to record. And and then you can just export that separately. So handy to have audio. Also, obviously, if you're recording acoustic things in the room, then you should have some audio tracks available so that you can record live acoustic sources immediately without having to add a folder, add audio tracks, and then set up the routing, etc. So like if you look what I've done here, if I click on one of these audio tracks, the first one that says test mix down, that one is receiving a signal from the Cubase mixer where it says master bus. So that it's receiving basically the second to last output of the Cubase mixer, which basically will allow me to record whatever the project is playing. It will just record it as straight audio, clean audio here. So that's very handy. The next one is not actually routed, but I can open it and I can select any one of the inputs on my audio interface or the preamps that I have, outboard gear, etc. And I can just select the source and start recording, which is very handy. So that's the boring stuff. Now, under orchestra, so this is the meat and potatoes of the template. I will go through the other features of a template, including the stuff at the top here. It's going to vary depending on what software or what DAW you are using. However, these things are pretty important, but we will get to those later because they are more relevant to the actual production side of things and not so much the organization side of things. So let's continue with our organization. Now, under the orchestra folder, so this is a global folder that I have. This is like the main folder which contains all the MIDI tracks for all of my instrument libraries, etc. So I have it at the moment divided into some main sections. We have the string section, woodwind, keys, brass, percussion. Keys should probably go at the top, to be honest. Strings are the king of the orchestra. Woodwind is, and brass are underneath that. Brass are towards the back of the room. Percussion is right at the back. They're the loud guys that wait for their big moment, then they come in and get it wrong. I'm joking, but percussion's at the back, noisy. So I kind of like to put things into like some sort of perspective to start with. Pianos are always at the front next to the conductor. The strings are basically surrounding the piano and the conductor at the front. That's how the layout of an orchestra generally works. And then the woodwind are behind the strings, or just beside them, and then brass towards the back and percussion right at the back. So gives you just gives you a good mental perspective to bear in mind where things are located, and that way you are less likely to make errors of judgment when it comes to programming things like velocities and timing infractions between different sections of the orchestra. But we'll get to that at a later stage. Right, let's look at how we've organized this whole thing. So on the left hand side of the screen, so right here, underneath here, in all these folders, okay, are lots of other folders. There's nests of folders within folders. And what we have inside of all these folders is we have lots of MIDI tracks. And every one of these MIDI tracks is assigned to a specific articulation, or I should say a specific patch in Contact. So don't let the size of it put you off. Let's look at it one at a time, and I'll break it down how I've organized this. So, okay, so I have a folder called strings. Inside that folder called strings, I'm going to have multiple folders that contain all the different articulations for all the different libraries that I have. So the signal path that we are establishing here is going to run as follows. We have MIDI tracks on the left. Those MIDI tracks are sending information and commands to Contact, which is over here. These are lots of instances of Contact that are open. And then from Contact, it will go to the Cubase mixer, which is to the right of Contact on my second screen, which you can't see right now, but it's there. Don't worry about it. We're going to get to the mixer later. The important thing right now is to establish how we set up our MIDI tracks with Contact. So to start with, a good example, let's start with LA Scoring Strings. LA Scoring Strings is a very comprehensive string library. And we have the string library, or the string section in orchestra is divided up into basically 4 main sections. We have violins, violas, cellos, and double bass. So, and in each 4 of those sections of the string orchestra, we have multiple players, and we have what we call we have a divisi sections. So we have groups of instruments in each one of those sections. So let's examining the folders here on the left. So LAS is LA Scoring Strings. That's LAS. Now let's let's look at the first chair and second chair. So what that is those are the first violinist, first violist, and first cellist, etc., who are situated closest to the conductor. And those are normally the people who have solos or are the lead players. They are basically the ones who are initiating, so to speak, the playing, which the other players will follow to a certain extent, but without getting into the technicalities of what exactly first chair is and how they operate as an orchestra. The first chair is the first instrumentalist who is closest to the conductor. And we have violin first chair, viola first chair, cello first chair, and bass first chair. So these are single players. Now, each one of these MIDI tracks is routed to an instance of Contact over here. open this up. Okay, so let me minimize the view here because there is a lot of extra things here that we're seeing. Okay, so let's get rid of the browser. Fine. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is you are seeing the Audio Bro ARC software controller, which comes with LA scoring strings. It's basically it's a very handy additional third-party software which Audio Bro have made, which runs inside of Contact, which provides you with extra control over the patches that you want to use. But let's stick to the main thing here. So what's happening is this. If I can I get rid of that for a second? Is there a way to minimize the view? Ah, perfect. Okay, cool. Fine. Normally the way to find things in Contact is to literally just click around until you find something. What's happening on the live stream? One view. I think it's me. Oh well. Fine. So, fine. So inside Contact, what's happening here? So this is an instrument bank. Without getting too technical, because this is a unique setup for LA scoring strings, and it can be applied to lots of other instrument libraries too, although I think most instrument libraries that you buy nowadays, they already come pre-made. They come with their own pre-made software, which is already arranged into this kind of setup for you. This is something I've built manually because I wanted to create my own custom patches that I could, switch articulations with using key switches. So I built a custom patch, but you don't need to do that. You can most libraries already come pre-made like that, so that you just have to load in a single patch, and it will give you the key switches by default. But either way, regardless of that, I can show you if I press the lower keys. You can see that when I press the keys on the keyboard, that the articulations change. It selects a different patch. So this would be first chair legato, tremolo, trill, staccato, spiccato, and the pizzicato. So I can literally just, on a single MIDI track, I can select different articulations, and they will, I can just choose whichever one I want, and I can switch between them as I'm playing. So this MIDI track here is routed to MIDI channel number 1, which is going to contact number 7, which is this. This is contact number 7. And here you can see MIDI channel number 1. So this MIDI track is sending straight to this instrument bank, which is then controlling all these different articulations. And then it comes out of contact. You can see here it says stereo 1. And that basically goes to the Cubase mixer, where the contact outputs are located. Simple as that. It sounds complicated, but you'll see there's a system to this. Minimize that. Let's go to viola first chair. So again, viola first chair, legato, tremolo. I don't know why that's missing. Oh, trills. I don't think it has trills. Staccato, spiccato, pizzicato. So yeah, that is that. And you can see that the viola first chair, you can see it is outputting on MIDI channel 2. Again, it's going to contact number 7. We're still on the same contact. And you can see over here we have MIDI channel 2. So it's receiving the information from MIDI channel 2, and exactly the same way, it is this instrument bank is being controlled by this MIDI track here. And then the output here also says stereo 1. It shouldn't be that. It should actually be, oh no, it is. It's stereo, yeah, also stereo 1. I'm sending all of these instruments here are all going to the same output on contact. It's probably the only reason why I've done that is because I think just for the sake of being able to control the first chair instruments independently, it's nice to be able to have them on their own output bus. What would probably be more sensible is to have, the first chair violin gets sent to the group channel where all the other violins are, and the viola gets sent to where all the other violas are, and the cello to the cellos, and the bass to the basses. So I probably will do that at a later stage. It's just a question of routing the channels accordingly. So yeah, so that's the viola, cello. Same situation. Here's the instrument bank for the cello. You can see that the cello is connected to MIDI channel 3. Also, again, going to contact number 7, and I can play the different key switches. You can see that the articulations change based on the notes that I play on the keyboard. Okay. And again, it's outputting to just stereo 1. That's all stereo bus number 1. So that's the cello. Double bass, first chair, is outputting to MIDI channel number 4, which is going into contact 7 still. And same situation. We've got key switches that can trigger different patches, different articulations, and it's also being output to stereo output number 1. So simple as that. So those are the four main MIDI channels that are being routed accordingly into contact number 7, which has multiple articulations to choose from. So yeah, we'll close that. What I'd like is if people want to ask questions about, I don't know how familiar people are, what level people are at, but I just want to demonstrate how orderly things really need to be kept so that you can keep track of what's going on. But yeah, we'll go through the rest of the template because it gets a lot busier and a lot more complicated. But the principle of having MIDI tracks that are then routed to an instance of contact with multiple patches open, that remains exactly the same. The only difference is how the patches are controlled. So, if we look, for example, if we go to let's look at the Albion 1. So yeah, Albion strings, right? If I open up the contact that these are connected to, at the moment it's blank because there's nothing there. Okay, that's not very good. Let's look at this one. No, they're all blank. I think I deleted all the instances of the patches because I was starting again because I wanted to build it in a more logical manner, because the first time I opened it, everything was a bit crazy. So let's see. Yeah, no, everything has been deleted. I've removed absolutely everything. I think the only things that are there are going to be LA scoring strings. Right? Okay, so let's look at LA scoring strings since that's pretty visual and easy to see as well. Let's look at violins section A, B, and C. So in the violin department, just the violins, we have 3 divisi sections of violin. Not all orchestras come with this. LA Scoring Strings does, because they are amazing and they've really thought it through. I know that Vienna Symphonic also has it, and there's a couple of others, but you've got to. I'm saying the layout is slightly different, and so is the user interface. I can only speak for LA Scoring Strings because that's the one. That's the one I have. It's the one I use basically every day. So violins A, B, and C. So what we have here is we have different articulations for different sections. So for every section of the string of the violin section, or I should say for every division of the string section, we have multiple articulations. So to start with, we have harmonics. Harmonics are not split into different division sections. This is everyone together. So this is all the violins A, B, and C all together. So this is the harmonics patch. So I can open up the contact and show you here. So this is the contact number 1, LA Scoring Strings, violins, long. So what that means is that the legato articulations are all being routed through here. So let's show you how this works here. So the violins full harmonics, MIDI channel 1, contact number 1, and you can see this is where the instrument patch is. This is violins full harmonics. Okay, so if I play a note, that's too low. Violins do not play that low. Sorry, the transposition button was on. So if I play a note, you can see I've got full control over that patch straight from that track, which is very cool. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, moving on. If we go to the next MIDI track in the folder, we have violins A legato. So this is specifically violins A, meaning violins the division A, and this is the legato patch. So you can see here MIDI channel 2 going to contact 1 and 8 scoring strings long, and here it is, violins A legato. Etc. Right, yeah, not playing anything coherent right now. Okay, it sounds very dry because right now there's no reverb and I'm not really using the mod wheel very efficiently, so just ignore the weird cheap sound of it. It just sounds bad because I'm not playing very well with it. The samples themselves are brilliant, but you have to really program the instruments well, or at least perform well with the various expression tools that you have and MIDI modifiers. But yeah, so that's that, and basically that's what happens for the rest of this folder here. We have violins B legato going to MIDI channel 3, violin C legato going to MIDI channel 4, and then we have violins A again, tremolo, so going to violins A tremolo on MIDI channel 5. See, that was wrong. See, this is important why you have to check these things. This is violins B tremolo going to MIDI channel should be 6. You can check this as we go along actually. Yeah, it's very loud. That's violins A tremolo, violins B tremolo. Good, that one works. And violins C tremolo. Also good. Okay, then we have violins A, trill. Cool. Violins B, trill. And violins C, trill. Okay, so that is all the legato patches so far. And that's just with one instance of contact. So what I've done is the way I've grouped it is that I've done one contact for every group of articulations. So if there's legato, like long patches or long articulations, so I try to put all the long articulations inside of one contact. And then the next set of articulations, the staccatos and the spiccatos, etc. So the short articulations will go to, they'll be put into a second contact. And that way, it's if you're trying to troubleshoot or you want to organize your signal routing, it's much more orderly when you have things divided into different articulations as opposed to mixing them all up in one contact together. I just find it easier to keep track of where things are, and if I want to make any adjustments to a specific patch, it won't take me very long to find it because I know where they all are. But again, you can decide how you want to organize it. You don't need to follow this specifically, but this is just something that I found to be quite orderly. So you can see in this in contact number 2 here, contact 1 had the long patches, contact 2 has the short patches. Remember, this is just for the violins. We haven't done the violas or the cellos. We're just talking about violins here. So contact number 2, las, violins, short. So these are all the staccatos, spiccatos, pizzicatos, and they're all loaded up into a single instance of contact. And again, same thing, all these MIDI channels here are all routed accordingly to the relevant patch. So, violins A staccato is over here, violins A staccato, and violins A pizzicato is over here, violins A pizzicato. Okay, so everything is very orderly, and it's very, and it's important to obviously name things so that you can visually make an instant reference, so that you don't have to run around clicking about looking for where you might have put the library. So yeah, that's basically what's going on so far for the violin department. So yeah, we'll stop here for now, and hopefully we'll check out the rest of the orchestra, and I will show you a couple of things regarding optimizing context usage, and also how to make sure that your CPU doesn't melt when you have very busy projects with lots of things open like this. So yeah, peace out, and send me messages on Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want. It's all good. Yeah, you can visit my website if you want. There's some music there. And yeah, I look forward to being back. So questions and comments, please leave them down below. And I look forward to joining you again. All the best.